Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Chats from the Blog Cabin. Even though last month was Autism Awareness Month, Daniel decided he was going to come on this month to share about his story and how he basically has made a successful life, even being diagnosed with Asperger syndrome. So, Daniel, before we start talking about what Asperger's is and autism is, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, Melissa, thank you for having me on today, and thanks for letting me share my story with your viewers out there. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I work full-time for an ABC-affiliated TV station here in Cedar Rapids, and I'm also a DJ on the weekends on Saturdays from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 6 to 9 p.m. Central Time. I host my specialty show called Independent Corner, which plays independent artists and bands from all over the world and right here in the U.S., from in all known music genres to crossover genres too. And I really enjoy doing it because I went to college in Chicago, Illinois. I graduated with a degree in radio, focusing on talent and production, and that was the reason why I wanted to get into that field. But my interest in TV peaked when I was in high school. I used a TV production class to get to know what it was like to work behind the scenes of a news station and what it's like to work with camera, how to operate a camera, how to do stories, anything like that. So that is where my interest in TV peaked. And so now I get to do both the things that I like to do, which is TV and radio, both at the same time.
That is so cool. Now, what do you do in TV?
Well, I work behind the scenes. I'm what's called a technical media producer, or a TMP for short. It basically combines master control operations, which is making sure all the TV shows that are aired on the proper channels, make sure all the commercials aired as they should be. And I also direct newscasts. Sometimes I get assigned either to do the morning newscast, midday newscasts, or maybe once out of the blue, I may do an evening newscast and make sure all the anchors are framed up nicely, make sure all the graphics work. Basically, what I do when I direct is make sure that execute what the producers want to do during the news show.
So how long did it take you to work up to where you're doing now? Because, of course, that's probably you had to start at the ground level, right?
Yeah, I started out in the digital channel, doing the field events for live and local stuff, like for high school sports and local events within the TV viewing area. I started doing that for a few years. In fact, I've been doing this cumulatively for now 10 years, and I've been doing it full time for almost 4 years now. So I started in the the station I work for is KCRG TV9 here in Cedar Rapids. I used to work for 9.2, and now I do both for 9.1 and 9.2. And I started out in doing camera operation. Now I do the on-screen graphics that you see, and yeah, I really enjoy doing that. And then I got promoted to being a production assistant for KCRG TV9, and I was a floor director at the time. And then we started implementing the TMP workflow, since we got bought by a big wig TV corporation down in Atlanta, Georgia. So we had to implement the TMP flow. So I got the experience doing that while we're doing transition. And then unfortunately, I got let go part of the time. So I got knocked down to freelance work. Mm-hmm. And then I got hired back once the person that was originally on the TMP left. So I initially filled his position, and that's what I'm doing now. I do that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. And if I have any events on Thursdays and Fridays, I'll be out at 9.2 doing live and local stuff, whether it be high school sports, debates, parades, or anything like that. Again, within the TV9 viewing area.
Wow, I love that. Now let's talk about, what age were you diagnosed with Asperger syndrome?
I was diagnosed at a very early age. I believe I was diagnosed at around 2 years old, and I've had this for all my life. And for those of you that don't know what Asperger syndrome is, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by significant difficulties in social interaction and nonverbal communication. So, like, sometimes what I'm doing with you, Melissa, is sometimes I struggle getting words out and trying to keep conversations at that. So that's one of the things with the Asperger syndrome has, and also social awkwardness. Sometimes I may sit all by myself when I'm at the events and anything like that. So it may take me a little bit of time to warm up to my surroundings and everything and like that, and warm up to having conversations too.
Well, but see, you jumped right in on this conversation. We actually jumped in early because I was like, hey, we got 5 minutes. You want to go ahead? And you're like, yeah, let's do it. So I honestly say you can't even tell with that. Are there certain days that it's worse than other days, or?
I would say that it's probably at random. Sometimes I'm like right on it, and then sometimes it just takes me a while to process things. So, and if I can know things like ahead of time, like you did earlier, and some days it's just I'm just like right on it right from the get-go.
So there's really not a rhyme or reason to what kind of day you're going to have when you first get up in the morning. It just all depends on what environmental issues as well.
Yeah, sometimes too. Yeah, like right now, the weather outside here in Cedar Rapids is really good, so I can take time to enjoy some of the nice sunshine and something like that. And if something comes right at instant for me, I'm like, okay, what can I do to prepare for this? If I knew about this ahead of time, how far can I do this? And so it just comes and goes.
Yeah. So what has it, having Asperger, what has it held you back from, and what have you gained from it as well? The good and the bad from it.
Well, the good part of it is that I'm good at certain aspects of things. Like I'm good with voice impressions. I'm good with in music and retaining memory of some things. If I repeat stuff over and over again, which I know some people may view that as a bad thing, and that's another downside of Asperger's syndrome is that some people may do things over and over again that may annoy people. But it's kind of our way of getting things, shall we say, trying to keep ourselves occupied and trying to have things, yeah. So good sign of things that we can specialize in fields of things. Like some may specialize in the field of science, or some may specialize in history. Myself, I specialize in music, voice impression, and memorization and things like that. And if you want, Melissa, I can use some voice impressions that I know of from some TV series.
That is so funny because I just wrote it down as a talking point. I was like, I need to remember to ask him about that. So yes, do voice impressions, definitely.
All right. Well, here's Peter Griffin from Family Guy. I bet some of you may know Family Guy, and I just love being around my wife Lois and my kids.
And somebody else?
Oh, well, there's this comic book guy from The Simpsons. Sometimes he has the worst trade ever. And of course, there's Mo Sislak from The Simpsons, the bartender. Mo's Tavern. Just a sec. Amanda Hugginkiss. Amanda Hugginkiss. Where can I find Amanda Hugginkiss?
So I can guess that Family Guy and The Simpsons are two of your favorite shows, I guess.
Well, Family Guy just came naturally because, I've watched snippets of Family Guy here and there, but, it just comes naturally since, it's in my vocal range. And but The Simpsons I watch most because, most of the voice actors that I've seen are in my vocal range, like Seymour Skinner and Skinner. Oh, Superintendent Chalmers. I didn't know you were here. And don't forget about Homer J. Simpson. The J stands for J.
I love that. Do you ever think you'll go into voice acting?
Well, people say that I should go into voice acting, but got to invest the money in trying to find a voice agent and anything like that. And but if I didn't get into behind the scenes of TV, then yeah, I would have pursued a career in voice acting. But yeah, I think I just impress people of how well I can imitate voice people and anything like that.
Are there other impressions that you do that aren't the cartoon characters in a show? Are there other people?
Let's see. Trying to think of who I could possibly do. Not at the moment, but if I come up with one later on down the road, I'll let you know.
All right, that sounds great to me. So let's talk about being your YouTube channel, because you have your own YouTube channel as well. What do you do on your YouTube channel?
Well, I do all sorts of things. I do vlogs. The recent vlog I did was from my experience that I had 3 years ago when I was attending the Indianapolis 500. And the reason why I went there is because my favorite driver, Danica Patrick, was going to have her final race at the time. So I wanted to be there in person to attend it. But I mostly do gameplay, do video game playthroughs of games that I typically own. And also, I like to share some memorable things that I've done. Like recently, I had a chance to talk with some celebrities via a virtual convention called GalaxyCon. And I recently talked with two voice actors from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. I talked with Wayne Grayson, who voiced Joey Wheeler, and Cyrus Truesdale, and also Dan Green, who voiced Yugimoto, Atem, who is the Pharaoh, and also Officer Trudge. So, yeah, GalaxyCon is a unique experience if you want to have the opportunity to chat with your favorite celebrities.
I love that. So what made you decide to start your YouTube channel?
Well, I just want to do it for fun, and some YouTubers monetize their channels, but I decided to make mine a little different and not have viewers go through all the ad interruptions. So I decided to make my channel ad free so that people can enjoy all the videos that I post from start to finish, again without having all the ad interruptions. And if you want to know how I came up with that name, again, it was from when I originally was from Chicago, and the 2008 was the year that I joined YouTube. So that's the name, Chicago Man 2008.
Let's talk about Chicago, because honestly, Chicago has some great teams. I see behind you, you have the Chicago Bulls and you have the Chicago Blackhawks. And so are you a Cubs or a White Sox fan?
I get asked that question a lot of the times, but since I was born on the north side of Chicago, my heart's with the Cubs. And I can tell you where the dividing line is between Cubs and White Sox fan, Melissa. It is the Eisenhower Expressway or Interstate 290. If you're north of that, you're a Cubs fan. If you're south of that, you're a Sox fan. But if you're here in Iowa, we have a AAA affiliate team, the Iowa Cubs. So I guess you could say those that live here in Iowa are on the Cubs fan.
So let's talk about the Bulls, because honestly, the Bulls have one of the most famous people. I'm in North Carolina. Had one of the most famous people from North Carolina play for the Bulls, and
Michael
you know
Jordan.
who that is? Yep, Michael Jordan. So were you able? Have you ever been able to go to any of these games?
Actually, no, but I did get to experience that through TV and stuff, and I got to live through their 2 three-peats, and get to experience the best record, which was 72 wins, 10 losses. But unfortunately, I never attended a Bulls game in person.
How about Blackhawks or Cubs or Sox?
I have attended one Blackhawks game. That was when they took on the San Jose Sharks, and they were wearing their special Winter Classic jerseys at the time. I remember that. But unfortunately, they lost to the Sharks 3-1. I have been to a Cubs game when I was in 3rd grade, I believe, at the time, and they were taking on, I believe, the New York Mets. And this was on a field trip when I was attending day camp.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And I also attended 3 Sox games as well, and all 3 of them were home games.
Wow. So we're going to take a quick break, but then we're going to come back and we're going to dive into more about autism and Asperger's, because I think a lot of people need to understand about that.
Okay.
You good with that?
I'm good with that.
Do you feel betrayed by life, your body, or by someone that you love? You are not alone, and you are not weak or overly emotional for feeling the way that you do. Betrayal is one of the most overwhelmingly painful experiences to navigate, because it strikes at the core of who you are and what you are worth. No matter how gutted you feel, there is hope. You can flourish, not in spite of your experience, but because of it. I know. After 23 years of marriage, my world was shattered when I found out that my husband had been cheating on me with 5 different women for 15 years. I lost everything that day: my identity, my worth, and the future I had worked so hard to create. While it was a long and arduous journey back to myself, today I know who I am, what I want, and I am happier and more confident than I ever was before. I've got what I call naked self-worth, which is the ability to see, know, and love yourself for who you are, not for what you accomplish or for who you are in relation to others. No matter what has shattered your heart, if you're ready to get clear on who you are, what you want, and to learn how good life really can be, then life choreography is for you. Even if you feel too old or are too busy because you have kids at home and you're in charge of everything. Life choreography is a comprehensive 5-month, 5-step program that empowers you to strip out of your labels, roles, and scripts, and to reveal yourself as you are, not as you think you should be. To learn more, go to nakedselfworth.com and download your free guide that shows you how to untangle yourself from the past, reclaim your sexy, and start re-choreographing life on your own terms so you can love and be loved for exactly who you most authentically are.
And we are back chatting with Daniel. Daniel, you mentioned having Asperger syndrome since you were 2. What are some of the symptoms for parents that maybe think that their kids might be on the autism spectrum?
Well, some of the symptoms are repetitive behavior, ADHD, which is attention deficit disorder, unruly behavior, and other things that, and also some of the things that others may have is stuttering, like I do. Like I sometimes stutter when I'm trying to come up with words or conversations and anything like that. And everybody that we probably know has these things. So yeah, so those are the main 3 that mainly associated with Asperger syndrome: ADHD, stuttering, and unruly behavior.
So when you were going to school, of course, kids are cruel. Do you have stories where they were cruel, or were most kids understanding with you?
Oh yeah, I was one of the many few that got bullied throughout their early years of high school, through the years of school. In fact, I got bullied so much that I too lost self-confidence in myself. But as time went on, I started regaining self-confidence in myself, and also through school, I've also been seeing a speech teacher and a speech specialty teacher, school counselors, anything like that, to try to keep me from trying to unleash the rage that is building up inside me, and trying to keep myself from happening from the worst, from getting expelled.
Yeah. So what would you like people to know about Asperger syndrome? Because we talked about at the beginning of the show that last month was Autism Awareness Month, but we decided you would come on anyways. And honestly, like we talked about before the show, it doesn't have to be a month. We need to be aware of all the different things that go on with people. So what would you like people to know?
Well, what I'd like people to know is that we on the autism spectrum are not as crazy as you may think we are, because we are trying very hard to interact with you that are living normal lives. It's like, take for example, our current president, Joe Biden. He stutters sometimes too when he speaks, but nobody talks about that. But when people like me have unusual behaviors and do repetitive things over and over again, you may find that it's annoying to you, but that is the way for us to cope with everyday things. So what I want people to take away is that we in the autism spectrum are working very, very hard to try to mesh with you, and we're trying not to offend you or anything. We're just trying to do what we can to interact with you, and also to be friendly as well, because and also some of the celebrities that we grew up idolizing may too be on the autism spectrum as well, because they may not physically or emotionally express it, but they too may have some form of autism. So and I also want to let people know is that we also want to be treated with dignity, honesty, and respect.
That is so true, because I know a lot of times, like you were talking about being bullied when you were in school, there's a lot of times people look at someone that's on the autism spectrum and say, you know what, they're the drugs of society, and that's not right. I mean, just because there's something not quite clicking in your brain doesn't mean that you're not worth anything. It means that you're just as worthy as anybody else. God just made you a little bit different.
Yes, and a success came out of that, Melissa. In high school, I was elected as the sophomore homecoming prince during the homecoming court in 2000. This was before the high school that I went to was going to be separate from the high school that was in another town that I used to live in. So this was before they split into two separate 4-year high schools. So something positive came out of that journey.
So that's kind of cool. How did that come about? Because that's really kind of cool. I think any kids or any parents of kids that have have kids with autism need to listen to this, because that's really uplifting and inspiring. How did that come about?
Well, a group of my friends. Well, I got the inspiration from a group of my friends, and so I decided to throw my hat into the running for homecoming court. Then I decided, okay, what would be a good slogan that people can catch on? And then the idea hit me, and I told my mom about this, and she came up with a good one and said, "Be the man, vote for Dan." So we went with that, and then I attended the high school homecoming pep rally, and actually before that, and then when I heard my name called, I was in total shock that I was elected as sophomore homecoming prince.
Wow, I can just imagine how total shock. Now, how has that helped you in your career? Because I know a lot of people with autism, they're super focused on certain things. Is that sure that helps you in your TV career and being behind the scenes?
Well, it definitely taught me a life lesson. Is to believe in myself and to sometimes to go and take risks, because you never know unless you try. And that's why I wanted to take that risk and get into the TV world, and thanks to my hard work and everything like that, I am where I am today. I get to work with a great group of people that are in front of the camera and behind the scenes, and I'm just living the American dream.
I love that, living the American dream, because that's actually what you put in your bio, your success story, and I love that. But has there ever been anybody in your life, or even someone you've come across that said, "No, you can't do this. Why are you doing this? You're not supposed to be doing this"?
Yeah, there have been a few people, but I'm not going to mention name, because I don't want them to come at me. But but I just shut them out completely, and just ignore the naysayers, and just focus on the positivity, and not let all the negative energy come my way, because if I get bombarded by that, then that's what I believe will weigh me down. But again, I just let the negative energy just go right by me, and just focus on the positive and stay on the goal.
So how do you focus on the positive? How do you continue to be so upbeat about everything? Because even people who are, quote unquote, what society says are normal are not always upbeat. So how are you able to be upbeat about stuff?
Well, I just focus on that, and just focus, and again, just keep a narrow laser focus on what's ahead of me, how I approach it, and what I can do to execute it, and try to get as little mistakes as possible. Or if there aren't any mistakes, just try to keep it so that it's either not noticeable or just enough to have a little bit of comments afterwards. So yeah.
Now, what do you think about? We talk about a lot about society and what society deems as normal, but what do you think about mainstream media as far as movies and TVs? Do you think they portray the person with Asperger's and autism correctly, or do you think they need to kind of change that? Because I think a lot of stereotypes around the way people feel about or look at a person on the autism spectrum come from mainstream media and movies.
Well, It kind of depends on how you view it. The way that I view it is, I look at what is being presented on the news, and then I think to myself, okay, if I was in that person's shoes, how would I tell it in a way that someone in the autism spectrum would understand? So, like for example, let's say for example about Joe Biden trying to handle the influence, well, trying to handle the situation in Israel. If I was a reporter in, so like for example, if I was filling in for Jake Tapper on CNN's The Lead, how the question I would ask myself is, how would I communicate in a way that both a normal and a person who is on the autism spectrum would understand in a way that would get the message out, and they'll be able to understand it in a way that is not going to put a negative spin on to the information that is being put out there.
I love that. So, have you been able to use that influence behind the scenes at the TV show, TV station that you work at?
Yes, because it may not click with someone who I'm working with at the time, or I've worked with a long time, but at least it gets to the common point of what we're trying to do and trying to get that done. Even though it may not be the most convective way, again, that most people have gotten used to do it, but at least it's a way that it's going to get the job done and keep the ball rolling and making sure everything gets done in a proper fashion.
I love that. So tell people where they can find you at.
All right. You can check out my Independent Corner Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Independent Corner. And if you want to check out all the videos on my YouTube, it is youtube.com/ChicagoMan2008. And if you also, I don't know if you can also check me out on cygnusradio.com. I'm on every Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 6 to 9 p.m. Central. And also, I forgot to mention this to you, Melissa, I'm also a non-professional musician, and I've been doing that for over 30 years. And you can check out all my covers and originals on SoundCloud.
Wow, covers and originals. So do you play? Do you sing? What do you do? You never mentioned that.
Well, I wanted to say that as a surprise for you, Melissa, because
surprise.
Yes. Well, in fact, my parents have been music oriented, so that's where I got my musical interest from them. I do have a keyboard, and I do sing sometimes, but I do most of my music composition on computer. I have a program called Fruity Loops Studio 9, and my brother introduced me to the Fruity Loops Studio program. I started out with the version 3, then up to 6, and then I'm with the producer edition of the 9th edition. And my most recent cover that I did was in what would sound like an acoustic cover, but again, it's all digital. And I did an acoustic cover of Kansas's "Dust in the Wind."
Oh wow! So, who is your favorite person to cover then?
Oh man, I have too many favorites to list. But if I had to list my top 3, I would say Mannheim Steamroller be number 1. Let's see who else. Have you heard of a German group called Cusco?
No, I have not.
Well, they're a synthesizer group out of Germany, and I've covered a couple of their tunes. One of them is both of them are off of their Mystic Island CD. One is called Fire Shoes, and I did an electronic piano cover called Solitude. So Cusco's my second one, and then my third one would have to be Kenny Loggins, and again, I covered one of Kenny Loggins' popular tunes off of the Top Gun soundtrack.
Danger Zone? Was that
you got it? You got it.
When you said Kenny Loggins, the only thing that popped in my mind was Footloose.
Well, unfortunately, I did not cover Footloose, but I did cover Danger Zone, and that is my most played song on SoundCloud. It's gotten over, I believe, 15,000 plays right now.
Wow. How in the world do you get so many plays and so many views on YouTube?
Well, I just let my videos take its toll, and again, since I don't monetize my videos, I just put them out there and just see what piques the viewers' interest, and if they like it, they do, and if not, then oh well, we'll just keep it up there and let it take its toll. And same with the music on SoundCloud. I'll just post it up there and just let the course take it from there.
Basically, you're doing it because you love it, and you want to share it with other people, not because you want to make money from it.
Right. Because that's my main focus on developing these things, is doing what I love and sharing it with the people around the world.
Now let's talk about your Facebook page, Independent Corner. What is that all about?
Well, I basically post websites of artists and bands that I play, and occasionally I'll host Facebook Live interviews with artists that I play on my show. And it's funny that you mentioned that, Melissa. I've got one coming up on July 5th with a great guitarist from New Orleans, Louisiana, Jamie Lynn Vessels. And not only am I going to be doing a Q&A session with her, I'm also going to be having a live concert with her all at the same time.
That is so cool. A live concert. That on Facebook Live. I would have never thought about that. I've been trying to think of things to be out of the box. So maybe a Facebook Live concert is the next thing for Chats from the Blog Cabin. Who knows?
Well, yeah, see, I can inspire you to do something too, Melissa.
Yeah. There you go. So if there's one last nugget that you want to leave people with, what would it be? One last thing that you want them to know?
Well, the best advice I can give you is don't give up on your dreams. No matter how hard your goals can be, just take it one step at a time, and eventually you'll get where you want to be. Again, don't give up on your dreams. Even though it could be hard, just take it one step at a time, set many goals, achieve it, and then continue to work your way up.
And you set many goals. You still have more goals ahead of you, though?
Yes, I'm hoping to continue to work in KCRG and still in the TV industry and still in the radio world, and any other passions that may come my way.
Do you have a long-term goal of where would you like to be by the time you retire, or in 5 years or 10 years? Or are you just living it day by day?
I'm just taking it day by day and see where everything goes.
Wow. So, Daniel, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, because I think you really opened up a lot of people's eyes on, you can be considered, whatever society considers as normal is crazy, because nobody is normal. If anybody says they're normal, they're crazy. But I really think that you coming on and sharing your story about Asperger's and being on the autism spectrum will help other people understand. And maybe, who knows, maybe make them think twice about how they interact with somebody who has that.
Yes, my pleasure, Melissa. And I'm very glad that I'm able to hopefully break the stigma that many people have placed on the autism spectrum. And hopefully someday, too, I'll become an inspiration to them in the future.
Yeah. And anytime you want to come back and do a live music show, let me know, because I'll be all for it.
All right. I'll take you up on your word for it.
All right. So, guys, we will see you on the next Chat from the Blog Cabin. Bye.